Okay, for alcohols, there is a common name nomenclature, and I'm just going to go over this. This is not what we're going to be using to name, but if you see common name, which you will see in kind of everyday products a lot, I see these a lot if I'm looking at products I buy. For example, if you look at shampoo bottles, or if you look at sometimes hand sanitizer or any commercial products, sometimes they use the common name. And if you want to be able to tell what that means, it's good to just understand how common naming works. Generally, for a common name, they use the word alcohol at the end just to distinguish that it's an alcohol. And then they treat the rest of the alkane as a side group. So instead, it gets the YL ending as though it was a side group. So, for example, here we have an alcohol, and the side group is a 2 long chain, so it's an ethyl alcohol. Here they have a alcohol again, and if we wanted to name this as a side chain of the alcohol, you would see this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the main part, and this would be another side group. So there's a 1-methyl pentyl alcohol. Now, again, these are generally how you name these common names, but I want to be clear that this is not the official IUPAC structure for naming alcohols. The official IUPAC way, or the substitutive nomenclature for naming alcohols, is as such. You're going to name the alcohol as an alcanol, meaning the name of the alkane. For example, if it was pentane, it would be pentanol. Okay, so you take whatever the name of the long chain, the main chain of the alkane, and you make it a all ending. So the OL ending distinguishes that it's an alcohol. You're going to put a number either before or after the alkane part to determine the position of the OH group. That's a little bit confusing, and I'll point out what that difference looks like. I suggest that you always do the second, which is always put the number in the position here where you say alkane, whatever the alkane is, then the number, and then the word OL. Now, again, if you put the number in front, it is also acceptable. I'll again show you these two differences. Again, I'm going to suggest you use this one only because when we start adding more and more substituents, this way is ultimately the less confusing way. So in our first example, here is the same one we looked at in the past. Here is its common name, ethyl alcohol. The normal substitutive nomenclature way to say this is, again, look at the length of the chain as an alkane. There's 2 carbons here, so that would normally be called ethane. And we're going to replace the end with all, ethanol. Now, we do still want to think about numbering, and if we were going to write this with its numbering, I would number at the end starting where the OH is in the 1 position. This is the 1 position. So you could write this as ethane, and then a dash, the number 1, and then a dash, and then all. This is a correct name to number this. However, when any substituent is in the 1 position, and it is the only substituent here, it is normal to drop the 1 since there is no other position that needs to be told where it is. We're assuming it's in the 1 position if you do not have a number there. So you can use this naming ethanol. So you can drop the number 1 when it's the only substituent there. Ethanol, if you're not familiar, is the alcohol that is in drinking alcohol. It is also the common alcohol that is used in hand sanitizers. So, for example, ethanol you find in, again, drinking alcohol, high proof drinking alcohol especially has more alcohol or more ethanol. And hand sanitizers use ethanol. But there are other types of alcohols, as we are discussing, right? Anything with an OH group on it is called an alcohol. So it can be of any length and called an alcohol. However, ethanol is the one we refer to when we're talking about drinking. Okay, so moving on to numbering. Here you can see, again, this chain. We're going to look at the length of the chain is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So normally this would be hexane, but we have an OH group on it. So it is hexanol. And we want to number the position. So again, you want to start from the end that's closest to the group, which is here, meaning that the OH is on position 2, hex, and then -2-all. So again, this is the preferred way that I suggest you name. You could also put the number in front of the compound as such, 2-hexanol. Okay, on this last one, let's again look at numbering this chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So normally that would be a pentane, but it has an OH group on it. So we're going to call it a pentanol. And there is also a side group on it. This is a methyl group. Okay, so now let's talk about numbering. Again, and number from the end with substituents, giving priority. So this side, the alcohol is on position 2, and the methyl group is on position 2. So I'm going to name these as such. First, name our side group, which is 2-methyl, and then pent, and we're going to do -2-all. Now remember, this number is for the alcohol.